I found baby shoes in my closet. They're tiny and covered in blood, but I don't have children. I was organizing winter clothes when I found them behind old sweater. Pink baby shoes, so small they could fit in my palm, with dark stains that looked like dried blood. I'd never seen them before, and I definitely didn't have children. I called my husband Marcus into the room. "Where did these come from?" I asked. His face went pale instantly. "I don't know, Jessica," he said, but his voice sounded forced. "Maybe the previous owners left them? We'd lived here 3 years. I would have found baby shoes by now." That night, I started feeling nauseated. The feeling persisted for days. I found myself craving pickles and ice cream, combinations that normally disgusted me. When I passed babies in stores, I felt an overwhelming urge to hold them. It was like maternal instinct I'd never experienced. The symptoms got worse. My breasts felt tender, and I started having vivid dreams about a crying baby I couldn't find. In the dreams, I searched frantically through hospital corridors, following infant cries that seemed to echo from every direction. I made an appointment with Dr. Hayes. During the exam, she frowned at my chart. "Jessica, this is strange. According to your records, you were treated here 8 months ago for severe head trauma from a car accident. You were also pregnant at the time." My blood went cold. "That's impossible. I've never been pregnant." Dr. Hayes showed me the record. There it was. Jessica Morrison, car accident victim, 7 months pregnant, severe head trauma. The baby was delivered via emergency C-section. The outcome listed infant deceased during delivery. I stared in disbelief. According to these records, I'd given birth 8 months ago, and she died. But I had no memory of being pregnant, no memory of the accident, no memory of losing a child. "Dr. Hayes, I don't remember any of this." She nodded sympathetically. "Head trauma can cause significant memory loss, especially surrounding traumatic events. Your brain may have blocked out the pregnancy and loss as protection." When I confronted Marcus, he broke down crying. "I didn't know how to tell you," he sobbed. "You don't remember anything about the pregnancy, about Grace, about the accident. The doctor said trying to force you to remember could cause more psychological damage." Grace. My daughter's name was Grace. That night, I searched our house thoroughly. In the basement, I found boxes labeled Grace's room. Inside were baby clothes, a crib, tiny blankets, and a birth certificate. Grace Morrison, born February 15th, died February 15th. But something didn't add up. If Grace died during delivery, why were her shoes covered in blood? Newborn shoes wouldn't get that dirty, especially with that much blood. I examined them under a magnifying glass. The blood was soaked into the fabric like the baby had been wearing them when something violent happened. I confronted Marcus again. "Tell me the truth about Grace. These shoes have too much blood for a baby who died during delivery." Marcus's face crumpled. "Jessica, please don't make me relive this. Tell me what really happened to our daughter." He was quiet, then whispered, "She didn't die during delivery. She lived for 3 days." My heart raced. "What happened during those 3 days?" Marcus looked at me with tears streaming. "You were in a coma from the head injury. I was taking care of Grace alone in the hospital. On the 3rd night, someone came into the nursery. They took her. The room spun. Someone kidnapped our baby? The police found traces of her blood in the hospital parking garage. Those shoes were on her feet when she was taken. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell me when I woke up?" Marcus grabbed my hand. "The doctors said the trauma of losing Grace on top of your head injury could cause complete psychological breakdown. They thought it was better if you didn't remember. I've been searching for 8 months, Jessica. The police think she's dead, but I know she's alive." I looked at the blood-stained shoes in my hands. Somewhere, someone had my 8-month-old daughter. Someone who violently took her while I lay unconscious, unaware I'd ever been a mother. The maternal instincts I'd been feeling were my body remembering what my mind forgot. "We're going to find her," I told Marcus, clutching the bloody shoes. "We're going to bring our daughter home." Marcus pulled out a file folder I'd never seen before. I've been tracking every lead, every possible connection. The security footage from that night showed something unusual. The person who took Grace wasn't walking normally. They moved wrong, like their joints bent in impossible direction. He showed me grainy hospital footage on his laptop. A tall, dark figure carried a bundle through the parking garage, but its movements were jerky, unnatural. "There's more," Marcus continued, his voice shaking. "3 other babies have gone missing from hospitals in the area over the past 8 months, all taken the same way, all leaving behind traces of blood. The police won't connect the cases, but I know it's the same thing, not person." "What do you mean thing?" I asked. Marcus pulled up more files, police reports, witness statements. The few people who've seen it describe something that looks human from a distance, but wrong up close. Too tall, too thin, fingers that are too long. My stomach dropped. "Marcus, what aren't you telling me?" He was quiet for a long moment, then said, "I found Grace's location 2 days ago, an abandoned research facility about 50 miles north of here. The same place where Dr. Hayes used to work before she transferred to our hospital." My blood ran cold. Dr. Hayes, who had my medical record, who knew about my memory loss, who seemed to know exactly what to say to calm my fear. "We need to call the police," I said, but Marcus shook his head. "I tried. They think I'm having a breakdown from grief. They won't listen. Jessica, if we're going to save Grace, we have to do this ourselves." I looked at the tiny bloody shoes again. My daughter was out there, had been out there for 8 months, and no one was looking for her except us. We drove to the facility that night. The building was massive, a concrete structure that looked like it had been abandoned for years, but as we got closer, I could see faint lights in some of the upper windows. "How do you know she's here?" I whispered as we parked. Marcus pointed to fresh tire tracks in the dirt, to a side entrance where the lock had been recently broken. "I've been watching this place for weeks. I've seen it come and go, always carrying bundles." We entered through the broken door. The hallways were dark and smelled of chemicals and something else, something organic and rotting. We followed the sound of crying, faint but unmistakable, coming from the upper floors. As we climbed the stairs, I started to remember fragments, flashes of the accident, of waking up in the hospital, of Marcus telling me I'd lost the baby, but now I knew he'd been lying to protect me. On the 3rd floor, we found them. A room full of cribs, maybe a dozen babies of different ages, all crying softly, and there in the corner crib was Grace. She was bigger now, 8 months old, but I recognized her immediately. She had my eyes, Marcus's nose, and she was alive. "Grace," I whispered, rushing toward her crib. That's when we heard it, a sound like bones scraping against concrete, coming from the hallway behind us. "It's back," Marcus whispered, grabbing my arm. "We need to get Grace and run." But as I reached for my daughter, the door slammed shut behind us. The sound in the hallway was getting closer, accompanied by a wet, dragging noise. The door handle turned slowly. What entered wasn't human, though it might have been once. It was tall and impossibly thin, with limbs that bent wrong and fingers that were far too long. Its face was a grotesque parody of Dr. Hayes, stretched and distorted. When it spoke, it was with her voice, but wrong. "Jessica, you shouldn't have come here. Your memory loss was supposed to be permanent." "What are you?" I demanded, clutching Grace to my chest. The thing that looked like Dr. Hayes smiled with too many teeth. "I'm what happens when humans try to play with forces they don't understand. This facility was experimenting with genetic modification, trying to create better humans. Instead, they created me, and I need fresh genetic material to maintain my form." "The babies," Marcus said, horror dawning in his voice. voice. "You've been taking babies to," the creature nodded, "to sustain myself. Each child provides me with a few months of stability, but Grace is special. Her mother survived severe head trauma, and her father has been remarkably persistent. Your combined genetics will allow me to maintain human form permanently." It started moving toward us, its movements becoming more fluid, more predatory. "Run," I told Marcus, but the creature was blocking the only exit. Marcus grabbed a metal tray from a nearby table and swung it at the thing, but it moved with inhuman speed, its elongated fingers wrapping around his throat. "Marcus!" I screamed, still holding Grace. The creature lifted him off the ground effortlessly. "Your husband has been very troublesome, Jessica. Always searching, always getting close. I should have taken him months ago." With a sickening crack, it snapped Marcus's neck and dropped his body to the floor. I ran toward the window, desperate to escape, but the creature was faster. Its fingers wrapped around my ankle, and I fell hard, barely managing to protect Grace from the impact. "Please," I begged, "take me, but let Grace go. She's just a baby." The creature laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "She's the key to my permanent transformation. I can't let her go." It dragged me across the floor toward a table covered in surgical instruments. The process is quite simple, really. I extract what I need from the child first, then from the parent. The genetic material combines with my own cells, allowing me to maintain human appearance indefinitely. I watched in horror as it prepared a syringe filled with something dark and viscous. But as it reached for Grace, something unexpected happened. The other babies in the room started crying louder, their voices harmonizing in a way that seemed to cause the creature physical pain. It clutched its head, stumbling backward. "Impossible," it hissed. "They're just infants." I realized what was happening. These babies had been here for months, and whatever the creature had been doing to them had changed them somehow. They were fighting back. I used the distraction to grab a scalpel from the table and drove it deep into the creature's arm. It shrieked and released me, dark fluid pouring from the wound. "The children are rejecting my influence," it snarled, its form beginning to shift and distort. "But I won't be denied." It lunged at me with renewed fury, but I rolled away, still clutching Grace. The creature's movements were becoming more erratic, more desperate. Whatever control it had maintained was slipping. I made it to the window and looked down. 3 stories, but there was a fire escape on the adjacent building, maybe 6 feet away. It was an impossible jump while holding a baby, but staying meant certain death for both of us. The creature was behind me now, its breathing ragged and wrong. "You can't escape me, Jessica. I've been planning this for too long." It reached out with those horrible, elongated fingers, but I was already moving. I jumped toward the fire escape. Grace clutched tightly to my chest. For a moment, we were airborne, falling through the night air. I hit the fire escape hard, pain shooting through my ribs, but Grace was safe in my arms. Behind me, I heard the creature's enraged shriek as it realized we'd escaped. But as I started down the fire escape, I heard something that made my blood freeze. The sound of breaking glass as the creature smashed through the window, following us down. It moved along the building's exterior like a spider, defying gravity and physics. I ran down the fire escape as fast as I could, but it was gaining on us. Grace was crying now, sensing the danger, and I tried to comfort her while fleeing for our lives. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's got you. We're going to be okay." But we weren't going to be okay. The creature was faster, stronger, and it wanted Grace more than anything. As I reached the bottom of the fire escape, I could hear it just above us, its claws scraping against metal. I ran into the alley, looking for anywhere to hide, anywhere to run. That's when I saw Marcus's car, keys still in the ignition. I rushed toward it, but the creature dropped from the building, landing between me and the vehicle. Up close, it was even more horrifying. Its face was constantly shifting, cycling through different human features it had absorbed over the years. Sometimes it looked like Dr. Hayes, sometimes like strangers, sometimes like the missing baby's parents. "Give me the child, Jessica, and I'll make your death quick." Its voice was a chorus now, multiple voices speaking in unison. I backed away, holding Grace tighter. "Never." The creature smiled with a mouth full of mismatched teeth. "Then you'll both suffer." It lunged at us with inhuman speed. I dodged to the side, but its claws caught my shoulder, tearing through fabric and flesh. I screamed, but kept running, blood flowing down my arm. The creature was toying with us now, knowing we couldn't escape. I made it to the street, hoping to flag down a car, but it was past midnight, and the area was deserted. The creature emerged from the alley behind us, no longer bothering to hide its true nature. It moved on all fours now, its limbs elongated and twisted, its movements predatory and fluid. "Help!" I screamed into the empty night, but there was no one to hear. The creature was gaining on us, and I was getting tired. My legs were shaking, my lungs burning, and Grace was getting heavy in my arms. I couldn't keep this up much longer. I turned down another street, desperately looking for somewhere to hide, somewhere safe, but the creature was relentless, following the scent of our blood, the sound of our fear. It was playing with us, drawing out our terror before the final attack. That's when I saw the church at the end of the street, its doors standing open despite the late hour. I ran toward it with my last burst of energy, hoping for sanctuary, for someone who could help us. But as I reached the steps, I felt the creature's claws rake across my back. I fell forward, Grace tumbling from my arm. She hit the stone steps and started crying, a sound that broke my heart. The creature loomed over us both, its form constantly shifting and changing. "Enough games," it hissed. "It's time to feed." I crawled toward Grace, trying to shield her with my body, but I was too weak, too injured. Blood was pooling beneath me, and my vision was starting to blur. "Please," I whispered one last time. "She's just a baby." The creature's response was to sink its claws deep into my chest. I felt my life ebbing away as it began to feed, drawing something essential from my body. Grace's cries were getting weaker too, as the creature turned its attention to her. In my final moments, I thought about the 8 months Grace had been missing. The 8 months she'd been in the hands of this monster. At least now, we'd be together. At least the nightmare would finally end. The creature consumed us both there, on the church steps, our blood staining the holy ground. When the police found our bodies the next morning, they couldn't explain what had happened. The official report listed it as an animal attack, but the investigating officers knew that no animal could have caused such precise surgical wounds. Dr. Hayes was never found. Her office was cleaned out, her records destroyed, and there was no trace of her existence beyond the false medical record she'd created. The abandoned research facility was demolished 2 weeks later, along with any evidence of what had been happening there. But sometimes, late at night, hospital staff report seeing a tall, thin figure moving through the pediatric ward, and occasionally, babies go missing from their cribs, leaving behind only tiny drops of blood and the lingering scent of something inhuman.